another exciting episode of the Private Property Podcast. You know who I am, but if you don't, my name is Zydah Manuel. I'm here to enlighten you via, privateproperty.co.za about all things property. You ask the burning questions that you need to know about buying a home, owning property, how to be a property practitioner, whatever it is that you need to know, and I give you the answers. I don't know the answers, and that's why I get experts to come onto the show and answer the answers for you and for me, because you and me are in this together. So today will be absolutely no different, but also a little bit different, because I'm sure you've noticed that there's some changes around. The one I need you to know about the most is that we have introduced something a bit more fun and interactive. Throughout the show, we will have 3 burning questions for you as the viewer. They'll flash on the screen throughout the episode, and it is your job to go and comment on our Twitter page. And if you miss them, actually, if you watch the show on YouTube again, because it's going to play on YouTube, and you can go to the private properties and you can look it up on YouTube, you'll find the questions flash there as well. And then the answers will be there as well. And then all you have to do is go onto our Twitter page and interact with us and tell us what the answers to those questions are. First person to get them right is the winner. What you win, for now it is bragging rights. Later we'll see if we can add a bit more of this and that to it. But please do that, and then don't forget to use the hashtag home ownership. Remember to answer all of those 3 questions correctly if you can. But back to today's episode. Like I mentioned right at the beginning of the show, today we're discussing home ownership in 2023, what it looks like. You're ready to take the plunge, sweetie. You're going to dive right into it. And that's what we're talking about today. I've got my special guest from Absa joining me, my fave, Zydah Manuel from the Home Loans Department at Absa. Okay, so you want to know probably what makes Zydah so qualified to answer any and all of these questions. Let me tell you who Zydah Manuel is. Zydah started her journey in banking, in the credit collection and recoveries in the Home Loans Department, before moving to the Home Loan Product Department. In 2010, she worked as a business analyst in customer experience design, before she became a youth banking manager at a financial services institution. Then in 2012, she became manager of the middle market segment. In 2017, she became the manager of professionals in the private banking segment. And then in 2019, she joined Absa and became the portfolio manager for first-time home buyers. Zydah, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me again on the show.
Thank you for joining me. I look forward to asking you all of these tough questions. But as you know, our questions do come from somewhere, and they come from all of the viewers of the Private Property Podcast. So before I get to asking you the tough questions, let's listen to what you had to say.
Actually, what we're facing right now in 2022, the problem is load shedding.
They should expect load shedding.
Load shedding,
probably water shedding as well.
They can get solar in their properties.
putting solar.
They need to expect I've seen more property companies are developing more properties, especially in Johannesburg, and they are so luxury, so beautiful, so nice. So I think more above everything, they need to expect to have a variety to choose from.
Well, there's definitely going to be a interest rate hike. I don't think it's going to decrease given our economic state. So definitely an increase on the cards.
Whether it's new or people that are owning homes already, what they expecting themselves is when they sell their houses, the prices should be good. They expect them to be selling at a good price.
Paying more municipal rates, which will be higher because of the lagged effects of inflation, and also just security. It seems like in the suburb or any place, there's just a lot of security to be thought about, to be tightened, upgraded. All these are costs, higher costs for homeowners.
An increase in rent, probably. Yeah.
To be brutally honest, I think they should expect a lot of house break-ins.
House break-ins.
Wow.
So those are some of the predictions. Look, I mean, I love that insight, because you can tell that those are a variety of people. Some of them were heading to parties. Some of them were obviously heading to work. I don't know where everyone else was going or what their plan was that day. But, you know, it's a variety of things that people are really concerned about the property market going into 2023. And what I would like to do now is get some of your predictions about home ownership and property ownership going into 2023. But we'll go into that after this. Thank you, Zydah, again for being here. You're a deeply important person, as we can all tell from your LinkedIn profile.
Thank you, Sibs.
Listen, next year, 2023, it's a whole thing. Do you think there's still an opportunity for people to now jump into the property market, first-time home buyers?
So thanks for that question, Sibs. I think to our viewers, look, home ownership is always something that we all need. We all need to enter the property market and, you know, secure that asset and secure a living space for us. I believe that there's definitely still appetite to continue to enter the market. It's still a buyer's market.
With the inflation and the interest rates and everything, Zydah.
Yes, I think what's important is as you prepare for home ownership, because it's a journey and there's some preparation that needs to be looked at before you enter this journey. And I think one of it, most importantly, is your budget. I think that is your first point of departure, is assessing your budget, assessing to see your expenses against your income, seeing if there's opportunity to reduce certain expenses so that there's quite a bit of additional surplus to accommodate a commitment as taken up to buying a home. And I think as you work through your budget, that would give you a good indication if you are geared for home ownership and if you are ready to enter. The banks are still lending, they're still favorable to lend to consumers. These consumers are still active today. So I think from an individual perspective, to make that decision, it's about preparation, and it starts really with your budget.
Okay, so speaking of consumers that are still in the market, I'm not a first-time home buyer, but I'm considering strongly going now into my second property. I'm trying to build some kind of portfolio and leave a legacy for, you know, whoever I'm leaving it for, my dogs. What kind of moves financially would you now be suggesting that I should make?
Once again, look, I think if you're planning to grow a portfolio or even enter the market, my favorite is affordability. Can you afford to actually do it? So you really have got to play the numbers game. You know your income, you know your expenses, and you really then got to see, you know, if you can accommodate this commitment. I think the other thing also too is then build some buffers into your budget. So play around with the bond calculator so that you can play around with different interest rates, linked to different purchase prices, and then have a look at what are those associated costs for home ownership and check if you have enough savings to accommodate for that. And I think it's all about the numbers game at this point.
Okay. I mean, speaking of numbers games, Absa is very good at playing the numbers games with the consumer to sort of make sure that you get the best deal possible. So I suppose my question is, what tools are you guys offering in your home loans department that is now going to help either, you know, first-time home buyers or people trying to grow their portfolios going into 2023, given all of the changes that we've seen, you know, with the interest rates, a lot of the concerns we heard, you know, from the people about load shedding and about, you know, water shedding and things like that, that you can't necessarily, I suppose you can prepare for them, but do you know what I mean? Like, how much money must I put away for a solar system or things like that? What are Absa's tools? What's Absa giving the consumer to say, you can do this, we've got your back, and we're going to help you through?
Great. So I think let's start with solar. It's quite topical. Absa does have good solar solution options to help with, you know, to respond to some of the energy crisis. We've got a good proposition out where consumers can actually have a view on our website to see what are our options and how can we support you from solar solution options for your home. Secondary, as a buyer preparing to buy a home, we've got great tools, from educational tools around our articles that can give you good guidance around buying a first home, creating a legacy with rental property, what to assess, what to look out for. And then if you want to remortgage again, what are those options? So we've got good educational articles on our website. We've got an e-learning journey that can actually teach you the ins and outs of home ownership.
Like a property course.
Like a e-learning program, right from what to assess upfront to buy a property, right to the registration process, the attorney process, the deeds office process. So it's the journey end to end. We also then have bond calculators, because bond calculators really helps you work with purchase price, interest rate, term of a loan. You know, how much deposit can you put down? How will it reduce? What positiveness or what positive impact does that have? And then we've got our home loan pre-qualification tool that can really give you a good indication of what you could qualify for once you've completed the application tool from an affordability perspective as well. It also helps you get a good understanding of what you can afford at the current time with your budget. And as you shop around for the home, you're very clear around which price bands you can actually research property with.
In your experience, what should someone who's trying to do this next year, and they're like, I'm ready, I'm going in, what should they consider before diving in? And I know you're going to say create a budget, or you're going to say count your money.
Count your money. It's very important. So let's count our money.
Okay.
I think budgeting is important because today you have certain expenses and commitments. So let's look at that and see, once again, if there is room to reduce those expenses, please do. Look at
my car installment just went up, Zydah. Like, what can I do?
Less going out, less entertainment. That's how you can reduce it. And then unnecessary takeouts. You can reduce your expenses in that way. Slight changes. I think the next thing also is to make sure you access your credit report. So you understand your credit score, because it does play a very critical role in assessing your application for credit. So your budget, which is affordability, and your credit score will give us a good indication if you're a good customer to lend money to. And then, of course, you know, there's associated costs to home ownership. And some of the things you really need to factor into your budget as buffers, but also that would become new expenses in your budget. So like insurance becomes a new expense. If you're not paying rates and tax today and you're not paying water and electricity, those become a new expense in your budget. Also,
if the geyser breaks, then it's your geyser and you must fix it yourself.
Well, if you take up insurance and you pay insurance, you can claim for that. So, and also what's another important factor is if you're buying in a sectional title property, levies becomes a new cost line item. And then also if you're buying a freestanding property, maintenance and security of the home. So, and then also it's good to know that you have got to pay attorney fees as you buy your home, bond and transfer registration costs. So you've got to have enough savings for that and to accommodate that cost, because that's an upfront cost. And then of course the move is also a cost. Moving into the home is another cost. And then I think the additional expense that comes into your budget is, like I've mentioned, insurance, rates and tax, water and electricity, security, you know, a maintenance fund for your home to maintain, or an emergency fund. And then if you have it's also good to look at enough savings, if you can put a deposit down towards buying the home. I think those are very good enablers to gear yourself for that home ownership journey. I think what the other thing is also, like I've mentioned, what's to take note of is do a pre-qualification assessment. So you're very clear.
You'd say that's step one, right? A lot of people say if you're prepping and you're doing like a step-by-step thing, process. The first thing you do is do a pre-qualification, check your credit score.
Yes, but the budget's more important.
Money, all you want is money.
You need to make sure the money's right.
Okay. When we get back,
yes,
I have many more questions for you. But We've also got something fun in store for you from a local TikToker, Kanyiselo Tando, who's making waves on social media and on TikTok with her property tips for first-time home buyers. So we've made it a little easier for you and made a mashup of all of her tips. So before that, let's head back to the streets.
Most definitely. Given the economy that we're living in and how things are happening, most definitely. That's a given, yes.
It's definitely going to happen.
Yes, definitely. As the country is picking up, then we should expect it.
Yes, it should.
Inflation is proving sticky. There's going to be a need to tighten monetary policy a little bit more. Yes, there will be another interest hike as we continue from here.
Most definitely. The price of everything is going up, so it kind of makes sense that interest rates would go up as well.
Yes, I think so. Because when you install solars, you'll get solars are too expensive when you install them. So the interest rate will go up, and the prices of this year and next year, they will not be the same. And the economy also.
Most definitely. I think we're even experiencing it now. Everything is so expensive. Even taxi is expensive.
I know you don't want to talk about interest rates, so I'm not going to ask you, but it seems like a lot of people are definitely really concerned about them, especially going into 2023. But it's fine, Zydah, we can leave it, because what I promised you was content. It's fine, we won't be the content creators for this particular portion. What we will do is give you local TikToker Kanyiselo Tando, who's making waves, like I said, on social media. She's talking all things buying your first property. She's giving all sorts of tips. We've made a mashup for you. Here is some content of the day.
I was going to mind my own business today, but then I just think I have one thing to share. If you're trying to buy your first property and you have a terrible credit score, then it goes without saying that your chances of getting a home loan are going to be close to zero. And I've experienced this just in 2019 when I just finished varsity and started working. I was very excited, to buy my first property and, get into it. And I was told that the banks are not going to give me any money because I didn't have any credit. So now I had to find a way to gain that credit. And for me, I realized from the get-go that one of the quickest ways was going to be to get a credit card, right? I was advised to do that. When I did get the credit card, that really boosted up my credit score quite nicely. Also, I would call the banks regularly to ask them how much credit they would give me based on my salary and my credit score. So those are just tips.
Did you know the government is assisting low-income individuals to buy their first property?
I love a good content creator. So Kanyiselo Tando, follow them on TikTok. I'm using the pronoun them because I'm not sure what their pronouns are. But follow them on TikTok because they obviously have some really good advice, some gems there. One of them was getting a credit card so that your credit profile can be assessed. Zydah, before I let you go, do I need to get a credit card to say, oh, look at me, I've got good credit? Because I will take that credit card and I will swipe it and I'll go to the Maldives and then I'll come back and then I won't have money now to buy a house anymore.
Yes, so thanks for that, Sibs. I think, look, as first jobbers, let's say, when you start working out as a first jobber and you'd keep...
What's a first jobber?
Your first job, you either exit matriculate or you exit higher education, and now you're going to start your first job. And
Okay.
I'm start my first job. So naturally, either people look to buy a car, for transport to work, and they look to take up certain facilities to help them as they start and they enter their careers. I think where we are today is that credit profile plays a very important role to assess you in terms of taking up credit in conjunction with your affordability from an income perspective. So the bank also assesses your income against your expenses. So you can have credit obligations on the bureau, or we need to assess your living expenses. So banks will always request a bank statement so we can better understand your living expenses, and you also got to complete that. With assessing from a credit score perspective, if you don't have any credit taken up and you immediately after 6 months would like to buy a home, look, the bank will say to you, you don't have a credit score. We can only really see your living expenses and we can see your income, but we don't really have other history. So they will assess you in that. So they could give you the guidance, can you maybe create a credit profile, or they'll look at alternative ways of how they can give you an outcome. What Kanisile did note is that she calls the bank to assess how much of credit they'll give linked to her income. I think today there's pre-qualification tools, especially for a home loan. So you don't need to call the bank. You can complete the pre-qualification tool and it will give you an outcome based on your income versus expenses, and could be an outcome of what you could qualify for to buy. So I think those are good tips. And she's quite right. If you need to manage your credit score very carefully if you do take up credit, because it will impact your outcome for lending or taking up any lending facilities from a financial institution. So ensuring that if you take up credit obligations, pay them timeously, and don't pay them late, and ensure that you are taking up credit because it's a need. So you'd really like to maintain a good credit score because it impacts your take up for lending over time.
Okay. One more thing before I let you go. I want to talk about honesty.
Okay.
So obviously with bond calculators and those types of things, or like they say, oh, what are your expenses? What are your living expenses? Yes. Then you don't put there like, oh, like you'll put your rent, or maybe you'll put it at a lower fee than what it is. I mean, obviously honesty is very important when it comes to now a pre-qualification process and how much money the bank is going to lend you to get this home. But I mean, can you emphasize like how really important it is to be honest just from the get-go with these things?
It's very important to be honest, because when you complete your pre-qualification tool, by putting a lower amount doesn't validate that you will get that outcome. It can give you the outcome, but remember, you still need to do a full application for a home loan, and we assess and verify the information again. So the validity of the information does get assessed, and through bank statement reviews, so we can understand your living expenses. So we'll correlate back that. So the best thing to do is to be honest when we complete in that fields of information.
Okay, and then when you check my bank statements, like it's not judgmental or anything.
No. We're trying to verify and validate your living expenses.
No, I'm just saying, like,
you've recorded.
If
and
my
also,
living expenses, like I order takeaway every night, like that's not going to make any kind of a difference, obviously.
It will, because we're then trying to assess living expenses line item against income and against surplus to afford a home. And that's why I say budget numbers is very important. The numbers game is important. The budget is important. We have to look at our budgets.
Please start buying your takeaways in cash, because otherwise they will judge you. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you to the viewers today, and thank you so much, Sims. It was great having you. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing you again in 2023.
Absolutely.
When maybe I'll be asking you to help me buy a house. Still waiting for the Powerball, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Listen, if you missed this episode, I told you we have a YouTube channel now. You can just go onto the YouTube channel and look for the Private Property Podcast, and that is where you'll find us. Please remember, the competition is also ongoing. Throughout this episode, you should have seen questions flashing on the screen. There are 3 questions in total. If you missed parts of today's show, you can rewatch it on YouTube and you will find all of the answers there, all of the questions there. If you are the first one to get them right by interacting with us on Twitter with the hashtag #HomeOwnership, you will win. I won't tell you what, it's a surprise. It's bragging rights. But you will win. So interact with us on Twitter and all social media. And I think that's all from the show today. We will see you again next time on the Private Property Podcast.